Hey, I'm Steve with XL Mountain Gear. Today we're going to go through with you how to properly fit the XL K2 frame. It's a very easy process, but it's something that I see guys kind of get wrong quite often, frankly. And so we're going to walk through just a few little steps and tips to make sure the pack is performing properly for you when you're out there in the field. The first and most important is get the right belt size. We do 3 different belt sizes: small, medium, and large. I'm a 33, 34, so I'm right on that border between the small and medium, and tend to go with a small belt, especially when it comes to September and heavy loads. I'm going to need that small so it gets tight enough. On the belt itself, there's a few tips that you can use to make sure you're getting the best performance out of it. The first one is, if you can avoid it, try not to wear a belt. Find a pair of pants that fit you properly and that don't stretch out during a hunt. If you have to have a belt, you're going to want to find the thinnest nylon one you can. The reason behind that is our belt is designed to be kind of moldable and flexible to your hip bones and your body shape. And if you've got something in there like a thick leather belt, it's just going to pinch and cause rub spots. The second tip is the webbing that we have here for your hip belt pouch or a holster that you can put on. Make sure that that's always the ability when you're wearing it to slide your finger through there. We don't want that really, really tight, because all that's going to do is cause pressure along the belt, and you're going to feel that in your hips. We really want all the weight distributed throughout the entire foam and fabric here. So when you're putting the pack on, the first thing you want to do is get it centered here on your hip bones. My hip bone's right there, right in the middle of the webbing. And that's going to get the weight distributing into your skeleton and going down into your body instead of sagging and pulling on you, which is going to pull back on you and cause excess pressure. And then once you have that right belt size, don't be afraid to get a belt nice and snug. We want that tight. We want 80–90% of the weight on your hips and just a little bit on your shoulders. Once you have the belt set right, from there it's just simply adjusting the torso to fit your body size. Basically, the measurement from the top of my hips to the top of my shoulder here, it's going to be a fixed measurement, and I'm going to adjust the pack so that the harness is just, a good way to visualize it is just kind of floating on top of your shoulders. If it was set too low, it'd be really pulling down on me, causing a lot of pressure on the top of my shoulders. You'd have sore traps at the end of the day. If it's set too high, the pack's going to be kind of floppy. But we want it just floating. And a good example of this is I'll be able to, with no weight in the pack, I can slide my hand through here. When you're properly setting the torso, we recommend putting about 30–40 pounds in there, because you're naturally going to get a little bit of sag out of that, though, there's gravity pulling on the weight. And again, I want that just floating right up on top. A good way to double check that your torso's closely in the right area is our logo that we stitch here on the shoulder harness should be right around where your collarbone is. It can be front or back of that a little bit, but if you've got it way back here on top of your shoulder, or if it's sitting way down here in the front, then you probably have something off and you need to take a look at where you have the torso set. So our shoulder harness will adjust from 16 to 21 inches. We have a 5-inch range there to get that properly set for you, and it's a very simple process to do. So if I had put this pack on and the torso was too low, if I was getting a lot of contact here on the shoulders and no gap, then I would want to raise that. And all you simply do is take the pack off. You're going to peel the Velcro up from the bottom of the shoulder harness. There's going to be 2 plastic clips inside there that you're going to unclip, and then you're going to move up, and you'll see the vertical strips of webbing with bar tacks every inch. You'll just move it up to the next spot, stick it all back down, and then test it again. And if you need to go up further from there, you can. One important thing to note is when you're putting the harness back down to the Velcro, make sure you kind of push up on it first so the clips are pointing down and not up. That's how the shoulder harness is designed to ride on the pack. When you're putting on the harness, the common mistake I see people do is most of them will not have the sternum strap here buckled, and they like to take these and really pull them tight and kind of pull it out, and just kind of pinches you in there. So I want all these straps really, really loose when I'm first putting the pack on. Again, get the belt centered on the hips, get it tight, and then from there I'm going to take the sternum strap, and I like to actually set the distance that this is going to sit on my shoulder. So if I pull this in, it's going to move it in. If I have it wider, it's going to sit out wider. I like it just to sit kind of right in the middle of my shoulders. And so from there, I'm just going to walk them in, just lightly pull on them. I don't want them overly tight, just kind of snugged up enough that the pack, if it's way loose, that the pack's pulled into your body. But again, you can kind of see, I've got a lot of range of movement here. The shoulder harness is really just, in essence, floating on top of my shoulders. And then your last step is come in and pull on your load lifter straps. And again, you're just gonna snug those up and feel the pack kind of pull into you a little bit. All the load lifter's really doing is if you've got heavy weight in the pack and it's pushing down on your shoulders, we're transferring that weight from the top to the front. So just kind of gonna pull back on you a little bit right here and take any weight that might be on top of your shoulders off. And it's also gonna help kind of stabilize the top of the pack. So one last tip that we kind of found too is if you've got really heavy loads, say 100, 120 plus pounds in the pack, one thing that's naturally going to happen is if you're hiking, it's going to just kind of sag a little bit. You're fighting gravity. So a tip that I found that works for me is, half a mile into the hike, basically I want to lengthen the torso because the pack's sitting lower than it was than with 30 pounds in it. So you just basically loosen up just like half an inch on each side here and then come in and take up the slack up on top. And that'll just shift the weight from the top of your shoulders more into the front and should be a lot more comfortable pack out for you. For more information, visit us at exomountaingear.com.